got a few details on the PlayStation VR 2. Let's talk about the first 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. And Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus players have a lot to enjoy this month. All that and the latest and everything cool today in the Rundown. Hey, welcome to the Rundown, everybody. My name is Victor Lucas, and I'm so glad that you have joined us today in the Electric Playground. Today's episode is brought to you by the Gaming Stadium. They are Canada's leader in online esports tournament facilitation. They've got tournaments happening every single weekend that you don't want to miss out on, and you can find out all about them at tgs.gg. All right, I've got a dedication for the show today as well, and that is for the Wren, who had this to say: more stoked than I can imagine for Splatoon 3, Starfield, and Breath of the Wild 2. He's commenting on my 22 hot games for 2022 video. Great list, Vic. I did not know that God of War was coming to PC, and happy to hear it. As a PC player, I hate it when an exclusive eludes me, or I have to wait 3 years to get a taste. Hopefully those exclusive windows get a little smaller and we can all get into it. I think that's what's happening in the video game industry, right? The idea of exclusives is quickly fading away. And we're seeing huge PlayStation things on PC, and who knows if that's going to extend also to the brand new PlayStation VR 2, which is the first thing that we're going to talk about today. At the CES show in Las Vegas, which is live and people are attending, even though Omicron is a variant of concern and it's spreading fast, there are people, live on location in Las Vegas right now, attending things like this keynote headed up by Jim Ryan, who is very proud of all of the success of the PlayStation 5, as he should be. Mentioned that the PS5 had a killer holiday season, so apparently a lot of people got PlayStation 5s this year, or last year, which is great. And, welcome to the club, and I hope you are enjoying your new PS5 if you just picked one up. Of course, he talked about the different studios that are a part of the family over at PlayStation. I think there's 17, and they've got some heavy hitters like Sucker Punch and Naughty Dog and Bend and Sony Santa Monica. They've got a lot of great content makers in the PlayStation family, so there's a lot to be excited about if you're a PlayStation fan. But of course, this was the CES keynote, so they had to show off some new stuff. And what they did announce is that there is a PlayStation VR 2 headed our way, which they teased a little bit last year. Today they announced the official title. It's PlayStation VR 2. PlayStation doesn't always have the most exciting titles for, like, it was the PlayStation 5 after the PlayStation 4. And they have these big events to show off their titles. Well, the PlayStation VR 2 is going to be coming out in the not too distant future, and it's featuring a bunch of new sensory features and tracking controls and things like that, better fidelity. It's going to use OLED screens that will go at 4K resolution. And it's, I think, 110 degrees of visual fidelity, so you can get a much wider kind of look at the world around you. And it does sound incredibly exciting. And one of the most exciting things are these Sense controllers that they've already given us a little tease on in the past. So we know that they are going to have a bunch of brand new hardware in this device. And PlayStation also had a big blog post about it today. And this is all about, moving PlayStation VR into the kind of 4K realm, into the high resolution realm that the PlayStation 5 is capable of. And they also teased us with a tiny little bit of a brand new Horizon VR experience, and we'll take a quick look at that right now. And it's like 20 seconds of footage, but you can see it's first person, and we're going to see the giant creatures walking through the forest, and we're going to feel the immensity and the enormity and the beauty of this world that Guerrilla Games is working on in partnership with a studio called Firespite, and it's called Call to the Mountains, or Call of the Mountain, and it looks cool, but brief. And that was all she wrote for PlayStation VR 2 so far. I am really kind of concerned about what PlayStation VR 2 is going to do to counter what Oculus is already doing with the Quest 2, which is tetherless. And they've also teased the Project Cambria, which is coming out probably later this year, which is going to be a much more high-end model, but it will also be tetherless with, incredible resolution and eye tracking and a lot of the social kind of technology features that PlayStation has queued up for the PSVR 2. But if the PSVR 2 is a tethered system, and we have to connect to the PlayStation 5 with a cable, and Oculus is going to deliver, experiences that meet or exceed what PSVR 2 is capable of, without having to plug into a computer or into any other device, it's going to be a little bit of a harder sell, I think, with PSVR 2. We don't know yet what the plan is. I personally would love it if PSVR 2 didn't have anything to do with the PlayStation 5, if it was a separate console, a separate machine, because if you think about it, they're going to have to come in at about $300 or $400 for PSVR 2. It's going to have, things that you're going to need to pick up, your controllers and the headset and all that, and the technology and everything in there. It's going to cost some money. But then if you also have to tether it to a PlayStation 5, we're looking at about $1,000 basically to get in and to start playing these games. And now, clearly, what Sony does is they spend a lot of money on developers and, exclusive content. But I think therein is also another issue as well. Like, PlayStation is trying to lock up another kind of console war with coming out with a PSVR 2 where you get exclusive material. And there's two things that I think Sony should do here, and I doubt that they will, but I feel like they should open up their platform a little bit so it will play other purveyors' experiences, whether that's off of a PC or, in partnership with Oculus to some degree, or they should share what they make on other systems. Because I feel like locking up exclusives in VR just feels way too reductive at this point. And I really hope that Sony's thinking along those lines. I mean, they're thinking about bringing their exclusives to PC already. I hope that exists with their VR titles as well. But the other thing is that I really hope that they're looking at a tetherless option with PSVR 2. Maybe it's a hybrid, so you can tether to have the super, high resolution stuff at supremo fidelity. And for some games, it doesn't matter if you're tethered in. If you're sitting down and you're playing a flight simulator experience like Star Wars Squadrons or something like that, it's not that big of a deal. But if you are, wanting that 6 degrees of freedom and movement and looking around into space, or you want a kind of a room scale experience, that tether is a pain in the butt. And playing the PS4 PSVR became more and more antiquated as we moved away from that, especially with the Quest 2. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I definitely want to hear what if you're excited about PSVR 2. I am. I mean, I can't wait to experience these games. I love VR when I do experience it. I just want to feel untethered, as the experiences promise, but the end effect of being connected to something doesn't always deliver. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's move on, and we'll talk about the Book of Boba Fett. Disney Plus started streaming the show on December 29th. The first episode was a little bit low-key. It was, it didn't come out with a massive bang. It really had a job to do, which was to kind of show off who Boba Fett was. We got a taste of Tamura Morrison's interpretation of Boba Fett in The Mandalorian in the second season, and that was really thrilling. And the show took on all kinds of great tangents and directions, and we got lots of other cool cameos in The Mandalorian. And I think that set up an expectation for how big the Book of Boba Fett was going to go. I was completely blown away that Robert Rodriguez had been tasked to lead the show and direct episodes. And the first episode, I enjoyed that we had to kind of figure out how Boba Fett escaped the pit and the monster that was digesting him over 1,000 years, because let's face it, that's kind of how we left things with the character. And, he appears armorless in The Mandalorian, but we kind of want to know how he lost his armor, and we saw how he got it back, which was cool. But what happened to the character. And that's what the first episode kind of teed up. He escaped from the pit, and he had to figure out how to persevere in the wastelands of Tatooine. He encounters Jawas, and he encounters Sand People, and the Sand People kind of treat him like a prisoner in the first episode, but then he quickly learns to overcome that and gain some of their trust and their respect. And what's interesting about the show is that they're showing all of that stuff in flashback while Boba Fett is healing in a Bacta tank. And I just think that that's a very interesting kind of setup for this character, who we've only seen as just this really competent badass that is afraid of nothing and will chase anybody and track anybody, and it's always been for the money. I mean, he's a scumbag, but he has learned how to monetize that and fare quite well for himself until he's swallowed in the Sarlacc pit, which was a bit of a underwhelming conclusion for the character in Return of the Jedi, let's face it, because he was so cool right from the get-go. Anyways, what we see in the first episode is that, yes, he perseveres and he escapes and he moves on, and he quickly rides the ranks, especially after some of the adventures in the Mandalorian show, which, if you haven't watched The Mandalorian and you're jumping into the Book of Boba Fett, you are missing a hell of a lot, and I really hope that you're not. And by the way, I'm spoiling stuff in the show, as you probably surmised here, so if you haven't seen episode 2, you probably want to put the mute on for a second here. But I will say that episode 2, I think, was an excellent call and response to the sort of muted tones of the first episode. Episode 2, we see that Boba Fett has kind of started to revel in the fact that he is the crime lord, the crime boss of Mos Espa. He has overtaken Jabba the Hutt's palace, and he commands respect and demands respect from the people that he encounters in the city that he goes to. He has some confrontations, and we find out that some people have sent some assassins to come and get him, but in the first episode we saw that they were readily handled by Fennec Shand, played by Bing-Nog Wen, and by Boba Fett. No problem. They took that group of idiots down pretty easily. And in the second episode, we see a little bit of how they deal with the guy that they have captured. They throw him into a rancor pit, and we don't get a rancor popping up in the show, which maybe they're going to tease, or maybe they will accumulate a new rancor as the show goes on. But we do see that they are unafraid to go and confront the mayor of Mos Espa, and they go and track him down. And I love that the mayor is played by this kind of hammerhead looking, like all of the action figures that we used to play with back in the 80s. They have sprung to life in these new live action shows that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are kind of overseeing, which is just amazing for me. I mean, I'm just blown away. But the second episode also ratchets up the action quite a bit, and we see a lot more detail on Boba Fett's relationship with the Sand People, which I think is really quite thrilling. The Sand People, grow to admire Boba Fett's resilience and perseverance. He goes and takes down some speeder bike gang members, which is pretty cool. And then he ends up training and fighting alongside the Sand People. He trains them to ride these speeder bikes, and they become their own kind of biker gang, and they take over this train in an incredible sequence, a really, really cool sequence, which kind of evoked a little bit of the Mandalorian and the Jawa Sandcrawler from that show. But I loved all of that stuff. I love that there's a lot more urgency in this second episode, and the fight sequences were cool. It does feel a little television-esque, and I felt that a little bit with The Mandalorian. And one thought that sort of came to me as I watched this second episode, particularly after we have seen the $1 billion-plus box office that Spider-Man No Way Home has just earned through a huge emphasis on nostalgia, I thought, it's a little bit crazy that Disney said, no, we're going to make a Boba Fett show instead of making a 2-hour, huge budget movie, because I think they probably could have made $1 billion in the box office of a Boba Fett movie if they had handled it correctly and threw all kinds of money at it. Maybe they could have teased it in Mandalorian, and then he gets his own movie. I mean, I'm super glad that we get a television show. It's incredible, but I think it's, Boba Fett is such a beloved character, that they could have easily gone in the movie direction. And I think we're incredibly fortunate that we get to tune in every Wednesday for the next. Now they've had 2. There's 7 episodes in this first season. I think we're incredibly fortunate that we get to tune in and just get lost in this lore for the next several weeks. And I absolutely am intending to do that. I don't have a score for the first 2 episodes. I enjoyed the first one. I love the second one. Clearly, the stakes are rising. The other amazing things, there were 2 key moments in the second episode that really took my breath away. One of them was we get to see this Wookiee gladiator, and he just looks fierce with armor on him, and he's got a great snarl. He looks way nastier than Chewbacca ever did, and he's got black and gray hair, and he just looks fierce. His eyes are on fire. I loved all that, and I loved that train sequence with the Sand People having to kind of be like old Wild West outlaws. It definitely feels like a Western, just like The Mandalorian did. But yeah, I'm really digging it, and I can't wait to see where Robert Rodriguez and Favreau and Filoni take us over the next several episodes. Okay, let's move on and talk about the wonderful month that Xbox and PlayStation have got for their subscribers. We're going to start with the Xbox Game Pass material that's coming out for this month. We've got a bunch of huge games, but Mass Effect Legendary Edition is one of the games that's going to be available this month on Game Pass, and that's just incredible. This was our winner for the best remastered game of 2021, and it was almost unfair how incredible this game was, even in context with 2021 releases. It was so freaking incredible to dive into this trilogy and to go in all the twists and turns that these games provide, all of the different character choices, the action, the storytelling, the beautiful heightened drama, and the beautiful pass that BioWare took on improving the visuals and upping the fidelity, kind of getting us to a point where our imagination had us when these games all released on the Xbox 360, which I still can't believe, by the way. It's amazing to me that these 3 games released in one console generation on what is now a pretty underpowered machine. It was pretty ahead of its time when the Xbox 360 came out, but comparative to what we have today, all of that game on that hardware, insane. And so that's what we get with Mass Effect Legendary Edition. If you haven't played these games before, you're in for hundreds of hours of treats. And if you didn't pick them up, and you are an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, look at you. You're the smart one. You get to play all these games very soon. The other big news that is hitting Xbox Game Pass this month is something from Ubisoft, and they had a couple of teases. They did a tweet where they just sort of said, "Hello, Xbox Game Pass," and then they kind of had to reply to that tweet, because what they're doing is they are bringing Ubisoft Plus to Xbox, but they're also bringing Rainbow Six Extraction to Xbox Game Pass, and Ubisoft Plus is not going to be tethered to Game Pass like EA Play is. It's going to be a separate subscription charge, at least for the time being. I suspect that there is a deal sort of taking shape, and it might be in a year or a couple of years from now, where Ubisoft Plus will also be included in Game Pass. I just don't see there being this idea of, it's what EA Play kind of had to do, right? Like they've partnered with Game Pass, and I think Ubisoft Plus is probably going to do that as well. There will be a share in revenue. But not yet, because Ubisoft Plus is going to launch on Xbox as a standalone subscription, and this is the service where you can, you pay a monthly cost, and it's all you can eat with all the Ubi games out there, which isn't a bad deal, and it makes sense for publishers that have tons and tons of games in their catalog to find a way to, easily get their material to people, and clearly Xbox Game Pass is showing us that there is a way to do it that gets all the ducats, makes all the money. But Ubisoft is delivering Rainbow Six Extraction to Game Pass players this month. So it's going to launch this month. This is the Rainbow Six game, which kind of feels like it could be a Star Wars game in a way. What was that Rainbow Six the clone troopers. I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but if you basically Rainbow Six Warriors up against aliens. There's an alien attack or an alien invasion that you have to deal with, and so you get sci-fi esque weaponry, and you get to go and take on all kinds of creepy, crawly, gooey, squishy, nasty aliens, which could be pretty fun. But you're still using the tactical strategy, the tactics of the Rainbow Six Warriors and stuff like that. It's kind of like an XCOM kind of vibe to it as well. It certainly doesn't have like the most beautiful visuals of 2022, but I have always enjoyed the Rainbow Six gameplay, and I've enjoyed what they've done with Rainbow Six in its online form, and it's incredibly competitive, but it's still super popular and super compelling content. So it's going to be interesting to see how these Rainbow Six Warriors deal with this alien threat. It does look pretty cool, and if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you're going to be able to jump in right away. There's also another cooperative experience called the Anacrusis? I forget how to pronounce this thing, but it is a cooperative against aliens kind of thing. It's launching in early access this month, so you're going to be able to jump in and play with your buds and see if this game is for you. There's a lot of these co-op shooter games like Redfall and the Evil Dead game. We had Aliens Fireteam Elite last year and Back 4 Blood. There's a lot of these types of games in the pipeline right now. Lots for us to kind of enjoy cooperatively. But that one's coming out soon. So, that one's called Anacrusis, I believe. That's an interesting name. And Spelunky 2 is in there, and Ember. Some good stuff. Olia, I think is the name of that role-playing action-adventure game, which I played last year. I quite enjoyed that as well. So good collection there. But Sony isn't going to rest on its laurels. They've also got some stuff for PS Plus subscribers in January, and they've got some big games in this one. Dirt 5, which is a PlayStation 5 game, and it's a pretty solid off-road racing experience. Deep Rock Galactic, where you're, sort of like these dwarf miners, and it's a shooter. Super cool concept, different concept. But the game that has me most excited is Persona 5 Strikers, which came out last year for the PlayStation 4, and this is the PS4 version that you can play on PS5. And it's taking that one against many kind of, sort of Dragon Warriors and Samurai Warriors kind of vibe, a little bit like the Hyrule Warriors games from The Legend of Zelda, but using the Persona characters and, seeing a lot of the monsters and a lot of the creatures and things like that we've seen in the Persona franchise. This is a gorgeous game, though. I did test it out on the PC last year, and I was really impressed by the look and the feel of the game and the speed of the game. It looks incredible. I haven't really spent enough time to come back with an opinion on it, but I do intend on streaming this now that it's going to be on my console. I'll just, one night, I'll without the camera, I'll just jump on the PS5 and play some of that with you guys. But I was super impressed and super happy for all you PS Plus subscribers out there and you Game Pass subscribers. Not a bad way to start January. The other thing that's coming out this month is the Uncharted remaster for the PlayStation 5, and this one collects the Uncharted Thief's End, Uncharted 4, and The Lost Legacy, the DLC that came out, which was kind of a standalone package. So you get all of the storytelling that Naughty Dog put together for these two incredible games, which were, obviously beautiful on the PlayStation 4, but they're going to be ratcheted up a notch, a little bit more kind of finesse, and they're taking advantage of the PlayStation 5 controllers and the 3D positional audio and stuff that the console is capable of. They say in the trailer that the performance has been improved, and I want to play these games. I've been wanting to dive back into this game, both of these, for a while, and this is going to be the catalyst. I can't wait to jump back in. These come out at the end of the month, and then next month is the Uncharted movie, and today Sony Pictures dropped a 2.5-minute scene of the Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg Uncharted film, which is headed to theaters on February 18th, and it's a fun little piece. It's, you know, obviously stuff that we've seen in the trailer, but they kind of extended it out so we get to see the whole idea, the fight sequence that takes place on the plane, and we see everybody battling and shooting at each other, and then of course Nathan Drake gets shot out of the back of the plane. Nathan Drake has to use his wits to, you know, deal with this calamity, and all of this debris is falling out of the plane, and we see people trying to dive out of the way and shooting at each other. It's got a pretty good vibe, man. Like, watching this sequence absolutely gets me fired up to see this movie for sure. You can check out the whole scene. It's on the Sony Pictures YouTube page right now, but you can watch it and judge for yourself. But I don't know. Let me know, you guys. Are you guys going to go and see this Uncharted movie? Maybe you may want to wait until the Omicron stuff starts to die down a little bit. And, you know, I know some theaters aren't even open in some places. Sony and other movie studios are navigating all this. One of the things that's happened is Morbius has been pushed back. It's actually coming out in April, so maybe Uncharted is going to have a delay notice that's coming soon. Who knows? But right now it's on track to come out next month, and the Uncharted game is coming out this month. All right, I've got one last thing to tell you guys about, and it's all over the news. I've had a bunch of people tweet at me telling me about this, but achievements have been discovered for a new GoldenEye 007 remaster. Nibelian on Twitter pointed it out. There's a website called True Achievements, which tracks all kinds of achievements that have been going on out there, and there are 55 achievements for GoldenEye 007 that add up to 1,000 gamer score, which is kind of current Xbox standard right now. There was that Xbox 360 GoldenEye video leak that appeared out there, and it looked like GoldenEye has been a property, obviously, that has been discussed as something that's going to be remade for a long time, but it does look like this actually is news. And apparently the way that the True Achievements website found these achievements was tied to Rare employees. So they were two different people that were playing this GoldenEye game and got these achievements. Nothing's confirmed. I didn't really want to talk too much about this until it is, like, it's so much speculation. It's so much rumor right now, but it doesn't feel like a crazy rumor. And one of the things that will likely happen if this game does come out is that it will be on Xbox, but it will also be on Nintendo Switch, because Microsoft and Nintendo are kind of playing nice right now. It might be on the Switch Online service. You can play the original cartridge version of GoldenEye 007 on the Nintendo Switch Online service, but they might also do the remaster kind of release for the Switch as well. But it looks likely that we're getting a new version of GoldenEye 007 to play soon, and it might be at a pretty supremo resolution and run super fast. Excited about that, and so happy that you all joined me. Thank you for joining me for the rundown today. I'm going to be back very soon with a brand new episode for you. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button, for following us on Twitch, twitch.tv/EPN, or YouTube, youtube.com/EPNTV. We'll see you soon. Thank you, and Happy New Year, everybody. And until we see you, play forever.